because we did the Braves
The
hour,
midweek.
Braves midweek update, and they won the first game, and then they got blanked last night. Sale's on the mound today for Game 3. They can win, against the Giants, get some offense going, win a series, and get right back to it. So
Game 4.
there's 4.
Yeah, they won Thursday, and
3
yesterday we
series.
won Friday.
No,
Split. We need to get the split today.
no,
we played
no.
Thursday.
We didn't.
We didn't play Thursday?
No, this is the 3 games, unless it is 4 games and it goes to tomorrow too. No, it's 3. So yeah, we played the Padres. This is the Giants. We beat the Giants Friday. We lost just last night, and then today's Game 3 with Sale on the mound in the rubber match. So
yeah,
and
we'll see what happens.
Some Mets again. But anyways, so
let's still in first. Maybe they can snap out of this. I just don't like that they played all these teams with losing records and just got lost. I mean,
I know, but
the only team we beat during that stretch is the best team that we played. We beat them 2-3. Boylan, yes, right. Yep. Aces Sporting Soda Sunday. So you say IBC is better than cream soda?
I do. Yes.
Okay. Now, what about like the Frosties and the other brands of cream soda? I mean, is Boylan right there with them, or is it a way back second, or is it?
It's mid. I don't know.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, everybody's 4-4 in Aces World.
Yeah, everybody's mid.
Correct.
Look,
mid.
So
mid. I'm drinking it, but it's mid.
Well, we're at the store the other day. They had a sale, and so I was like, Boylan, that looks okay. I'll try that. So I got a root beer and a 4-pack of root beer and a 4-pack of the cream soda. And it's Boylan. It's out of New York City, Boylan. I'm going to get one in a minute here for Soda Sunday, but I think the root beer is probably down the list. The root beer, I still roll with IBC, so it'd probably be 5th or 6th or something. But the cream soda is the top. I like it better than IBC. So Boiling cream soda, especially if it's cold. Man, it's good. I had one the other night. It was so good.
Well, in case you couldn't tell by this, everybody in the SEC is going 6-6 this year, according to Ace.
Yeah, 4-4, 6-6.
Everybody's
4-4, which is impossible to be 4-4.
Just wait, buddy. Just wait.
Look, it's impossible to be 4-4.
I think we all have the same. Right there. I think we're all.
Yeah, it's probably going to be about like the Big Ten. Yeah, where that's.
So let's.
By the way, the Kool-Aid.
We do. Hey, me and Drew have the same top 3, all in different order.
Yeah. Let's get into it. We're back, episode 11, CC preview of our college football preview series. Like I said, like I was telling Chief the other day.
Kool-Aid pineapples. I know they're selling them or whatever. I made my own really good. That way I make my Kool-Aid with honey instead of sugar. And yeah, so this is the watermelon, and I made the blue raspberry. I wanted to do Strawberry Finn. I could not find Strawberry Finn at Publix or Food Lion. So anyway, go ahead. These things are good though. This is like candy.
So we're on episode 11. We did our midweek update of the Braves. Now we're getting into our SEC preview. Fair warning, this might go a little bit longer than all the other ones.
You might have to listen to this. 3 sittings.
Yeah, it's simply because I don't think any of us by any means are saying that, the other conferences don't matter because you have contenders in every other one. I think we all would say that top to bottom, if you went 1 through 16, the SEC is probably a little bit better. But we know that the Big Ten and even the ACC and the Big 12 have people at the top that can contend for a championship and beat teams in the SEC. We know that. But this is a conference that we've grown up watching. Our team, the Gamecocks, if you can tell, I got my Gamecock hoodie on. The Gamecocks are in this conference, so we have followed the SEC probably closer than any other conference throughout our lifetime. I know we grew up watching football with the old man Tom, and essentially, he's an Alabama fan. So Alabama, South Carolina, we've watched a lot of SEC football, and I think that's what we spent the most time looking at least. We know about the SEC teams more. We see them all the time. South Carolina plays all of them, so we know kind of what their history is, the background. So this might take a little bit longer. And with that intro being said, I think we should go ahead and do what we've done the last couple episodes, and let's get into our predicted order of finish and go from top to bottom now. I know we got more teams that we want to talk about. It's not just the top 3 or 4 because, some of us, our team, we all have probably somewhere along the middle of the road in the conference, somewhere in the middle.
Yes.
We'd like to talk about them briefly. And then I think next week I want to do a college football playoff prediction, and along with a Clemson and South Carolina deep dive where we focus on those two teams. And we have Ruben on as well. So it should be all four of us, me, you, Ace, and Ruben next Sunday. So the next episode will be that. But right now we're going to focus on SEC. We'll try not to talk about South Carolina too much when we get to them because we want to give everybody even.
It's our show. We can talk about South Carolina.
Well, but we're going to do it a lot more next week, so there's no point to get too far into it when we're going to pretty much break down the entire team next week.
What I can say.
So, with that being said, I will start this off, and I really, outside of the top 8 teams, I really don't have much to talk about. I know y'all probably have more, but
let's do 10 through 16, and then let's do 4 through 9, and then we'll do top 3. How about that?
All right, so let's do this, right? I'm going to start off first. I'll go 16. I think we all can agree that probably the weakest team in the SEC is either Arkansas or Kentucky. I think Arkansas is my weakest team. I have them going 2-10. Overall, I put them at 16. Brand new coaching staff. They just don't have the talent. I think that South Carolina plays Arkansas this year. I think it's going to be much like the last time we played Arkansas and we beat them like 45-16. I think it's going to be a butt whooping. I think they're one of the worst teams.
I think it was 48-13.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that was the game where Swearinger got the penalty and picked it off, ran it back, and threw it in the stands. That was funny.
Yeah, they got, when we first came, we came to the SEC together.
Yeah.
So they were the Western team that was our common opponent before they expanded, 2 more times. And so, and then what happened was they were like, oh, Arkansas is terrible now. You can't give South Carolina that win. So let's just move A&M over, even though A&M and Missouri was more of a natural rivalry. And so they moved it over, and so we picked up A&M as our common opponent.
Which
and
made
now,
no
of
sense.
course, and now it's all whacked because the whole thing is just 16 teams and 4 pods and whatever, and 9 games in the conference. So, but anyway, Arkansas. So, all right, so you got 16. Go ahead, go through your.
So 16, we're gonna go Arkansas 2-10. I got Kentucky at 15, 3-9. Sorry, Judge. I just Stoops is gone. You got. I think Will Stein, the offensive coordinator at Oregon, is a good coach, right? I think he's going to maybe at some point get Kentucky back to a relevancy where they're competing, but not in year one, not with what they've lost. 14, I have Mississippi State at 4-8. Again, just, young coach, still early in the system. I just don't think they have much. I mean, I've looked at their roster, and I'm not really impressed by anything that I'm seeing. 13, I have Vanderbilt. Great year last year. All right, Diego Pavia, kind of ran that offense and was the conductor of it, and he's gone. I don't think Vanderbilt recruited well enough to go in here and replicate what they did last year. I have them at 6-6 at 13. I have Auburn at 5-7 coming in 12. They're ahead of Vanderbilt due to maybe head-to-head or conference, how I pick the games. Missouri is 11, 7-5. Look, I know a lot of people are very high on Missouri. I know they've got some talent, and Eli Drinkwitz is, a good offensive coach. But I just think that their schedule's not favorable. I'm going to have them at 11, and then I'm going to put Florida at 10 at 7-5. So Missouri and Florida both 7-5, 11-10, and that's my 16-10. I think Florida's got a really good coach. I think it's going to take them 2 or 3 years to kind of get them to where they need to. They lost DJ Lagway, so they have to fill a quarterback spot. I don't think he was great, but again, he's I think he's a better quarterback than what they have now. I think it's just going to take them a while. So this 10 through 16 is really just teams that are behind the curve right now in terms of overall talent, recruiting depth, either new coaches or a new system or new all around. I just don't think that translates to success in a conference this loaded with the schedules that those teams have. And that's my 16 through 10.
Ace, you want to do yours next?
Yeah, man. I have Mississippi at 16. I have Kentucky at 15.
Mississippi State?
Mississippi State. Sorry, yes.
Say, because if you're going to say Ole Miss last, you're crazy. But anyways, go ahead. Sorry.
Kentucky at 15, Vanderbilt at 14, Arkansas 13, Auburn at 12, Missouri at 11, and then I have us finishing right about even. South Carolina Gamecocks at 10.
Okay, so you got us at 10.
I really don't even care to talk about it. If you're 16 through 10, I don't care to talk about it. So that's
except South Carolina, but I get it. So I have Mississippi State as 16. I have Arkansas as 15, Auburn as 14. I have Kentucky 13th. I got Missouri 12th, Florida 11th, and I have Vanderbilt 10th. And I'm telling you, I don't know. I just think Florida, Missouri lost a lot, so they've got to rebuild. The other teams are just behind. Vanderbilt, though, do you realize Vanderbilt is the only team in the SEC that has not one player on the first, second, or third team all SEC offense or defense? They've got nobody, okay? And they're getting a lot of run. They do have a good coach. Clark Lea's done a great job for a school that doesn't even have an athletic department or whatever. That's impressive. But I still have Vanderbilt as 10. I just don't see the Diego Pavia magic. They pulled Jared Curtis. They got him. I don't know how they're getting these quarterbacks. I do know that there's some money at Vanderbilt. Maybe that's part of it. I don't know how much the guy's getting paid, but so that's mine. 10 through 16 again: Vanderbilt, Florida, Missouri, Kentucky, Auburn, Arkansas, Mississippi State. I just think Mississippi State's in for a long haul, man. I gave them one win, and I think that win is, between that they play Auburn and they play Arkansas, maybe they'll muster a win out of there because neither of those two teams are consistent. So that's why.
Well, hey, and the one thing I'll point this out since before we move on is Missouri. I have them at 11 at 7-5. A lot of people will have Missouri higher, and actually, I think Athlon has them at like 5 or something like that. And I think a lot of it is because they got Austin Simmons, who was Ole Miss's backup to Trinidad Chambliss last year. He's a really talented quarterback.
Yeah,
they believe that he's going to be able to rejuvenate that offense and step in. I don't know. I wouldn't take a chance on a guy that
on the hunt.
The problem is I haven't seen anything from him. I haven't seen him play live snaps in a meaningful game, so you can't really I can't give anything off of that. So that's why I have them there. But they could be higher. That's a team that I have low, but maybe they could be 8-9 wins and finish near the top. I will say that. I think
I'll say this.
Yeah, I think their ceiling is a winning season, and I think that's it. It's just a winning season.
Yeah,
making a bowl, and that's it. I don't see them going any higher than that.
That's where I have them.
They're a middle of the pack team for me.
Yeah, I got Missouri 3-6 in the conference, and I got them in a bowl at
6-6. Who knows? They could flip. Their schedule is very.
If Ahmad Hardy gets hurt, Missouri's done.
Yeah, that's going to be the one that matters. Is Ahmad Hardy, but here's the thing: is I tell you what, he can be as much of a bowling ball and a train as he wants, but defenses have film on him, and they'll figure out ways to keep him from getting. It's going to be
tougher.
He'll be limited,
especially. He just doesn't have a lot around him, and their defense is significantly depleted from last year. So like I said,
and they play disciplined football. I like that.
I've got them 12th. Also, I do have Vanderbilt and Florida both at 4 and 5 in the conference. So
okay. Well, hey, all right. So we got our 16 through 10. I think we all kind of realize I say we should go 9 through 6 and then get into our top 5 after that. So we'll spend a little bit more time on this. Look, at 9, I have Oklahoma at 7-5, and this is kind of crazy because Oklahoma could be a playoff team. I really think Brent Venables has a great roster. I just, like I said, I went and picked every team based on their schedule, and I just don't know if I have. I mean, let me pull up Oklahoma's schedule. Right. For me, they got Michigan week 2 on the road. I think Michigan wins that. They got Georgia. I think Georgia wins. Yeah. I think Texas beats them again.
Yeah, they got Ole Miss and A&M. They've got the 4 best teams in the SEC. They've got,
and that's what I'm saying is.
Teams. Yep.
That's 4 losses right there. And then you got Michigan. I just think that their schedule is too much of a hurdle. I think they have a talented team. Look, man, they're going to be good. John Mateer's a good quarterback. They're going to have a good offense. Brent Venables has good defenses. They have talent. I just think that they've got 6 toss-up games, probably 7, honestly. I think, and that's hard to win 4 or 5 of those 7 toss-up games against your competition you're playing. So I have them at 9, 7-5. It is. I think they might have the toughest. I would say they have the toughest schedule.
Yeah, that's one reason why I have them where I have them. For example, Sporting News has them 4th in the SEC.
Yes,
and I think they're 7th in Athlon. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's because of the schedule. I think that's what everybody's thinking.
7-5 Oklahoma at 9. I like Brent Venables because I think he's a good coach, great defensive coordinator. But I think he's moved into that head coaching role well, and he's been able to get them where they need to be. 8, I have Alabama at 8-4. Look, man. They got Keelan Russell at quarterback. He's a stud, big time 5-star coming out of high school. South Carolina almost had him. We were close. But look, Kalen DeBoer, man, do I believe in him? No, I think he is too much of a Pac-12 coach to be in the SEC and to play with the big dogs. I just don't think his philosophy. I mean, Nick Saban was all about toughness and just, discipline and hard work and focus. Under Kalen DeBoer, there was a report that before big games, Alabama fans were saying that they would see players like having girls in their hotel room at midnight the night before a game and ordering all this pizza and food and partying and staying up at night. I think Kalen DeBoer doesn't have I think Alabama is no longer disciplined. They don't have the discipline they had under Saban. And I think that's a big problem. And that's why that when they were losing last year and that dude was like freaking out in the middle of the game when the other team was kneeling, threw his, mouthpiece and was like having a tantrum in the middle of the field. Saban would have jerked his ass up. I mean, it would have. Like you didn't see that under Saban, and you see it under DeBoer, and he just lets it go. It's like he's a player's coach, and he's like, let's not hurt the players' feelings, man. Let's let them do what they want to do, and it just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. So I have Alabama 8-4. I think they're good enough to win 8 games.
To touch on that, Drew, to build on that a little bit. Also, when you have that kind of discipline problem, you get the next thing, which is the worst thing in the world from a coach's perspective, is you get an effort problem. And as soon as you get an effort problem, you have issues.
Yes, and I think that's what they have sometimes.
Yep.
So
there are 3 things that make it hard to coach a sport, especially football, and in football particularly. These 3 things. Number 1 is lack of effort. Number 2 is DWN. Okay. You can't play football with don't want none. Okay. You got to want some. You have to. All right. And then the next thing is people just thinking they know everything, and the coach is crazy. And maybe he is, but if you don't do what he says, and instead of, 11 people, 1 goal, you've got, 11 different ideas, 11 different goals, 11 different. It just won't work. So yeah, I think that's a big part of the problem is he's not in control like Saban was.
So that's my 8 Alabama. Like I said, look, I know Tom and Stacy and Ashton probably not going to hear that, but look, man, you guys you're not dominant anymore. You're not who you used to be. You're not going back. You're not going back.
They're realistic.
I mean, like Ace, am I not being fair? Like you're not going back to that. You're just not. Nope. You're not who you used to be. You're not Alabama.
To the Saban, I think Bama's still Bama to a degree, but it'll never be the same Bama that's dominated football the past 10 years. So,
but I think their talent gets them
there. Now that he just hasn't came through.
We come to 7, South Carolina Gamecocks at 8-4. I have them finishing 7th at 8-4, and the reason I have 8 wins is because look, and I'll take you through this real quick.
Remember where you had them, Drew. All right, remember when I go through mine, remember you had a 7.
Okay, I have a 7th, and this is why. Okay, let me take you through the schedule real quick. Kent State, Towson, dub. Mississippi State, dub.
Wins.
3-0. You go to Alabama, a game that you had won in the 4th quarter the last 2 years. Okay, I think South Carolina beats Alabama.
I think South Carolina wins that game this year.
I think we beat Alabama. I think we beat Kentucky, and I think we beat Florida, and I think we're sitting at 6-0, and Gamecock fans are like, oh. Here's the problem: we're back. We're gonna win the national championship. We're gonna go undefeated.
Schedule's backloaded.
And then we got Tennessee, which I think we lose. We got Oklahoma, which I think we lose.
Yes.
We have Texas A&M, which I think we lose.
That's like the most for sure loss.
You have Arkansas, which is a win.
Yep.
You have Arkansas, which is a win, and you have Georgia, which is a loss. Right, and so that's 4 there, and then you got Clemson. So that would mean I would have to put Clemson, but I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do something a little different. I think South Carolina beats Tennessee at home, but loses to Clemson. I think we do start 7-0, but we lose 4 out of the last 5 games, and we finish 8-4. And I think that's how it ends for South Carolina. And the reason being is, look, I think Lenore Sellers under Kendall Briles is going to do great. I think the offense is going to take a big leap forward. I think the defense is going to be very, very good. Problem is schedule, and you're going to hear this a lot in the SEC. It's just schedule. It's a gauntlet. That those 3 that span of Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Georgia is just really going to hurt, man. I mean, it's going to hurt. I mean, you look at you're at home for 2 of them for Texas A&M and Georgia, and that's great. But it's not going to change anything. So again, I have us 8-4, and that's why. Look, I think we start out have one of the best starts in South Carolina football history, and then it falls off second half of the season. So I have us at 8-4, 7. 6, LSU 9-3, first 9-3 team. LSU finishes 6. I think Lane Kiffin's got a lot of talent. I think they're going to be really good. Sam Levitt's a good quarterback, but he's never played in the SEC. I think Kiffin will do well with him. But look, man, I think LSU also has a tough schedule. Let me see if I can let me show you 3 losses I have of LSU losing. So I have LSU losing against Ole Miss on the road at Ole Miss. I have them losing to A&M, and then I have them losing to Texas. And those are your 3 losses. That's what I have. So that's my 9 through 6. Oklahoma at 9, Alabama at 8, South Carolina at 7, and LSU at 6. Ace, Chief, when I want to go next. That's my.
I'll go next. I'll go next. So number 9, I have Alabama at 5-4. All the same things you said, Drew. I think that DeBoer is Saban was this. I think DeBoer is this. The good news is this is about as far as they're going to fall. They're probably going to be right around this level while he's there. And I have them 5-4 in the conference. Okay. And I think they're probably 8-4. They play a very, very soft out of conference schedule. So, in fact, what do they have? They've got East Carolina, Florida State, and Chattanooga out of conference, 3 wins. So I got them 8-4, but I have them 9th. I have Tennessee at 5-4 in the conference. I have Tennessee 8th. And honestly, I might be generous there. I don't know. Tennessee, they've got some things to go through. They didn't get the quarterback they wanted. They didn't get the second choice for a quarterback. Quarterbacks are important. So I just see them there. Number 7, I've got the Gamecocks. I've got the Gamecocks at 5-4. Okay. So I've got us, and I try to do this. So I have 3 categories: wins, toss-ups, and losses. Okay. So I have 4 that should be wins unless something crazy happens. Okay. I've got Kent State. Well, actually, I got 5. I'm sorry. I got Kent State, Towson, Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Arkansas as 5 wins. I think those are 5 wins that we should win those. If we don't win those, there's a problem. The toss-ups, I got Bama, Florida, Tennessee, and Clemson. All right. And we could win all of those. Mm-hmm. All right. In fact, I think that we win. I think out of those 4, I think that we win at least 2 of them. Okay. Probably 3. All right, so that puts us at 8 wins. And then I have Oklahoma, A&M, and Georgia as losses. I just don't think that we can win those games, even though one thing I want to talk about is I'm looking at the all-SEC team. The first team quarterback is Arch Manning. The second team quarterback is Trinidad Chambliss. I don't have a problem with that, although I think I would invert those 2. I think Chambliss.
Don't worry, I'll get to that.
I think they are, but they've got Sam Levitt as the third team All-SEC quarterback, and you said it, Drew. He's not played it down in the SEC. So let's think about this. Dowell Loggins, joke of a coordinator. Lenoris Sellers blows up, has a monster year, okay? Then he gets an even more of a joke of a quarterback in Mike Shula, who takes away all the things that he does well. Also, we're gonna put him in the pocket more and have him avoid contact. But you can't scheme up some damn routes that get somebody open. You can't block somebody for more than a quarter of a second. But then you go to Kendall Briles, who is not only competent but a very brilliant coordinator. Okay, so you're gonna get the best Lenoris Sellers you've ever seen. So Lenoris Sellers of 2024 is that's the second best season of any quarterback in the SEC right now, behind Chambliss from last year, because he was lights out. Okay.
Yeah.
It's better than Manning last year. Mm-hmm. All right. So why in the world is he not third team, taking that into consideration? All right. So it just goes to prove some of these experts don't know what they're talking about. They don't pay attention to things. Kendall Briles is going to make Lenoris Sellers a legit Heisman candidate. Okay. Unfortunately, that's really only going to translate to 8-4 for us. But I think we're going to go to the Outback or the Gator Bowl. Either one of those, I'm extremely happy about. So.
Let me add something to what you just said on South Carolina, because I didn't hit on this. But you mentioned, look, let's take a second and look at what Lenoris Sellers is. Okay, Lenoris Sellers is a dual threat quarterback. The guy can run and he can throw. We know he can throw. All the people who said his arm's not good, you're an idiot. Go watch the film.
He's got the strongest arm he's the strongest arm in the SEC.
Go look at some of the throws he made last year. But let's look at this. Let's look at Kendall Briles' quarterback history. Let's look at his tree, right?
Yeah.
Jarrett Stidham, one of the best quarterbacks Auburn's had in the NFL. Yeah, not a starter, right? But he has started some games and he has started for some teams. Okay.
He won a playoff game.
Derek King, the Houston quarterback who threw 50 touchdowns in that breakout year when Briles had him as his offense coordinator. All right. Felipe Franks at Arkansas, okay, set a single season program record completing 70% of his passes under Briles' system. KJ Jefferson, another Arkansas quarterback that literally ran for 1,000 yards and threw for 3,000 in one season.
Yeah, we were working on getting Jefferson at one point too, and I was excited about that. I don't know why. We would have ruined him after Bryles built him up, but go ahead.
Josh Hoover, who's at Indiana now, who's going to lead Curt Cignetti's offense. All right. Hoover's best passer in the Big 12 last year, 4,000 yards in 2023, followed up with 3,500 in 2024 before after his departure. And now you have Lenore Sellers. All those quarterbacks were dual threat. All of them made plays with their feet. All of them had one thing in common. They had talent. They weren't as developed. Under 1 year of Bryles, they all broke records and did some crazy stuff. Yep. So
I agree.
There you go.
And, he has the best deep threat in college football.
In Nick Harbor.
Period. End of story. Okay. If you just use him right. It is hard to say this, but Nick Harbor cannot outrun his throws. I mean, maybe, but most of the time, Sellers can put it out there. And Sellers, as opposed to all those quarterbacks you mentioned, is not just a dual threat in that he can run and throw. He's a freaking man-child. Okay, This guy is strong, is a stronger runner than Cam Newton was. Okay, yeah. I mean, you look at him, his legs and thighs and hips. I mean, this dude is built to run through people, and so that's why it's even more infuriating when Mike Shula, and that's the only way. I'm blaming Mike Shula because he was in charge. Who else do you blame? Okay, it's either him or you blame Sellers for not doing what he was told to do and trying to protect himself once he got the big payday, which I don't think is true. But if it is, then it's the coach's job to say, hey, you can't take all this money and then rob us, So there are 5 or 6 wins we left on the table last year because you couldn't score more than 10 points. So I think with Bryles, it's going to be something. So I got South Carolina at 7. At number 6, I have LSU. I got them 5-4 in the conference. I think, let me see. I want to be accurate here. Hold on. I didn't worry about out of conference schedules. Okay. So Clemson, they're going to beat Clemson. Okay, they're at home. They're going to beat Louisiana Tech, and then who else do they have out of conference? McNeese. Okay, yeah. So they're going to be 8-4 as well. Okay, and the reason that I have LSU ahead of South Carolina is because we don't play each other. I think that putting this team the way it is, I have South Carolina getting a win over definitely Alabama and then maybe Tennessee. So that puts us ahead of them. All right. And then LSU comes, they don't, like I said, they don't play us. They're probably going to be ranked higher. So I think that puts them 6 and us 7. So that's where I am. Mm-hmm. So 6 LSU, 7 South Carolina, 8 Tennessee, 9 Alabama.
All right. Ace, 9-6. Let's go.
Yeah. At 9, I got Florida. I see this team, good future ahead, a lot of upside. I was looking at their portal this morning, transfer portals. It looked solid. However, I just think how their schedule falls, this is where they'll end up in their conference. But I think this team could possibly end up, somewhere like, 5-7, possibly in the conference. But right now, I think it makes the most sense to put them at 9. Oklahoma, I would put them higher if they had a schedule like LSU's or if they had a schedule like, I'll go Tennessee, but they just have a hard schedule. I mean, I don't see them pulling out anything higher than 7 or 8 because of how hard their schedule is. That matters so much. But Venables, yeah, I love his culture. I love the defensive guy. So, it'll be fun to watch them play, but I don't think they pull out the wins they need to move higher in this conference. Because the SEC's is tough.
Here's a side note too, real quick. Chief always says that defensive coordinators should look, mean and should be, you could tell Brent Venables is a defensive guy. If you look at him on the sideline when he's coaching, he looks like he wants to rip somebody's throat out. He looks mad all the time.
Yeah, there are only 2 good defensive coordinators who are coaches in the SEC as head coaches. Okay, and you know who the other one is, but it's Kirby and Brent. Yeah, those 2. So I agree. I agree with everything you said there, Ace.
Yeah, moving up, I have Ole Miss. I would love to put them higher. New coach. You know what I mean? I like what Golden can do. I think he can come in and make some big things happen. But again, it's tough because if you put, Florida, Oklahoma, Ole Miss, Alabama, Tennessee, LSU, if you put these teams in other conferences, they could possibly win those conferences. Like they could go undefeated in those conferences. Right now, it's just you have big teams ahead that are just like, they're going to be middle of the pack here. That's just how competitive the SEC is. And people, ACC fans, especially Clemson fans, I got to get y'all for this because the biggest thing is Clemson has played in the ACC and that's been a dog shit conference for I don't know how long. where Clemson was the head of it and had like one or two teams as comp, and the SEC's over here. And if Clemson was in the SEC, they would probably be a middle of the pack team for so many years. But so my point being that all these teams are really good teams. They just so happen to all be in the same conference. But moving up, I have Alabama at 6. I believe where this it all fell. You could never count out Alabama altogether. I mean, even look at DeBoer's first year. I mean, you look at they probably had the most athletes, pure athletes on their roster out of anybody in the country, just because it's Alabama. And I know it takes more than athletes to win football games, but that matters so much. And that's why I just don't think you can count them out. They're at my number 6, a little with talent. Yeah, it was so hard for DeBoer to come in and try to fill Saban's shoes. Anybody who had an expectation that thought he was going to come in and fully save Bama or keep them going, you just can't. I'm sorry. You can't replace what Saban did. That's the greatest coach of all of this modern era of football. You can't replace that. And I think there's other coaches that could have came in and did way better than him. But he just so happened to inherit Alabama, and Alabama's still Alabama at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, the Saban as the greatest college football coach of all time is a legit argument. Look at his coaching.
It's a legit argument, but definitely in the modern era. Definitely modern era, not even close.
Yeah.
But number 5, I have Tennessee. See, I struggle with Tennessee and LSU, but I just had LSU ranking higher in the conference here. I think they pull out 1 or 2 more.
You're going on to your 5 now? Maybe as well. You can do your 5 through do 5 and 4 and stuff.
Yeah. So
we can do it.
Yeah. I'm on
Tennessee
at my 5. Yep. Huples. I love his offense. It's electric. This offense can score on anybody. My biggest question is what can their defense do? And their defense is going to be their ceiling, because if their defense comes out and underperforms, their ceiling will be an underperformance team. But this offense, I do believe can compete with just anybody in this conference, truly. And then with LSU, again, they inherited on Kiffin, and that's why I give them the up. I mean, look what he did at Ole Miss for so long, and then now he's at LSU, first year taking over. I mean, looking over last year to this year, offense going to be just as explosive as it has been, if not more so. The defense has improved with the transfer portal and a lot of the guys they got coming in. And again, it's just a team that I think is capable of beating anybody. They have the elite talent. They have the coaching. They have the schedule doesn't favor them the way I would like, so that's why they are at my 4. But if they had any of the big 3 schedule here, I think I would put them higher. Again, schedule's just tough for the SEC, so that's why
you have LSU 4. Okay, so here's the thing.
I have Tennessee 5, LSU 4.
All right, I'll go first, Drew. But before I do my 5 and 4, I just want to say something about LSU. All right, so let's look at the recent national champions. Okay, and the coaches: Curt Cignetti, Ryan Day, Jim Harbaugh, Kirby Smart, Saban, Dabo. Okay. Those are like your last 10, going all the way back to Urban Meyer in 2014. Those are your coaches that have won national championships. All right. Those guys brook no bull. Okay. They're in charge. I mean, Dabo, it was to his detriment early on because he kept messing with all of his coordinators, even when he got the right guys in there. Yeah. He didn't mess with Venables much because Venables wouldn't have it. But, but he used to mess with Chad Morris or whatever. So, and these guys are more, it's my way or the highway. All right. Kiffin is that way too, but Kiffin is more like, I'll just go crazy and throw a fit or whatever. Not like my stern, focused, disciplined personality will guide this team. Saban's more like, or Kiffin's more like, my way. I mean, he's just not like those guys. Okay. So there's a reason why he's never even been to a championship game. Okay. At Alabama, he was great as a coordinator. Okay.
He did.
But on that team, Kirby was the DC, and they had Saban in charge. And that's another thing. Some guy like Kiffin, he was not a highlight. He was not a headline. He was not a news clip. Okay. Why? Because Saban didn't put up with that shit. All right. None of these guys, even Ryan Day, they don't put up with stuff. Harbaugh's like, look, we're going to do it my way because I'm in charge and I've done it before. You have it. So guess what? get on board, do it my way, or there's the door.
Right.
And that matters. And that's what I think. And Cignetti is probably the most to fit that thing. Cignetti can out Saban, I think, because the guy does not put up with a bunch of mess. They build a culture, a focus, a discipline, and then that's what happens. And I just don't see Kiffin doing that. I have as my 5, I have Oklahoma. I have them 5-4. Okay. Same record. I have Oklahoma, LSU, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Alabama, all 5-4. Okay. And I have Oklahoma up there at the top. So looking at Oklahoma's schedule, all right, and this is rough. They got to play at Michigan week 2. That's going to be a tough game.
Oh.
They have Georgia. So my top 5, you already know my top 5 in no particular order is Georgia, Texas A&M, Texas, Mississippi, Oklahoma. Okay. Oklahoma plays the other 4, all of them, you know, so they've got at Georgia, at Michigan, then they play Ole Miss, Texas, and A&M. Now they got those 3 teams at home, but still, if they win one of those games, they're going to flip my prediction. They're going to be 6-3. So, and then they may move up to 4 or 3. So, but right now, that's what I have. Now, I do have Ole Miss at 7-2 because, you know, Kiffin leaves, but they get Chambliss back. This guy has been a starting quarterback for 73 years in college football. And you know, he won his thing. Okay, that's great. Whatever I think about that. But about the kid can play. The kid is a warrior. Okay. He is a dual threat guy. And they didn't go and hire some Dumbo. That I don't think they went from a Saban to a DeBoer downgrade. Honestly, I have every confidence that they're. I'm gonna look at something real quick.
That's different. So Oklahoma.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So let's look at Ole Miss. And Pete Golding is a good coach, but let's look at Ole Miss. So Louisiana. Okay, that's a win. Charlotte, that's a win. LSU. Now that's the big one right there, man. Okay, it's at home. Kiffin comes in there. I don't know, man. There's some people on that staff still that understand. I think they beat LSU. So, and then my issue with Ole Miss is they've got Oklahoma, Georgia, and Texas. They play all of those. All right, I say they beat LSU. They lose the other 3. They're 6-3 and 9-3. So I got Ole Miss number 4.
Okay, this is interesting. We all have some different stuff, but yeah, let's get into it. So number 5, I have Tennessee at 9-3. I think the schedule's favorable. Ace mentioned it earlier. Tennessee has a really favorable.
Yeah, they caught a break there. That's for sure.
Let's look at it. Let's look. They got Furman. They got Furman and Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's not the same. It's not gonna be the same. They got Kennesaw State. They play Texas at home. They lose that one. But then they got Auburn, Arkansas, Alabama, South Carolina, Kentucky, Vanderbilt. All right, so they're looking at pretty much losses against A&M, LSU, and really Texas. Outside of that, they can probably win everything else. So I have Tennessee at 9-3 at number 5. I think this is a good offense. I think Heupel's gotten to a point where he can consistently keep them at 8 to 10 wins every year and keep them in the top 7, top 6 of the conference.
So what record do you have for Tennessee?
9-3, 6-3 in the conference.
6-3. All right. So I've got Texas. Texas A&M, LSU, and South Carolina as their losses. So we're real close.
Yeah. And like I said, that Tennessee could lose to us too, but like I said, the schedule's just favorable, right?
It
so
is.
Number 4, I got Ole Miss. And let me give you some reasons why.
We got the same number 4.
They want to talk about Arch Manning, and you know that's cool and everything. I think Trinidad Chambliss gets the nod from me as the best quarterback in the SEC. I think he is the best quarterback.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they have a good, but also I think Kawan Lacey is the best running back in the SEC. So I think that Ole Miss automatically has the best quarterback running back tandem in the SEC by far. They lose Lane Kiffin, but to lose Lane Kiffin and really all you lost is your offensive coordinator.
Lane Kiffin, yeah.
You lost your offensive coordinator, but Pete Golding was the defensive coach. And then he was able to take over and steer them and win a playoff game too and get them to that semi.
They may have taken a downgrade at OC, but Golding is going to be a better head coach than Kiffin. He's a better leader.
So again, you lose Lane Kiffin, but there wasn't a mass exodus of talent. You got to retain a lot of them. And I'll tell you what, it's because of what Kiffin did. A lot of them players said, that's what a lot.
Yeah, they didn't go.
That's what they said. They felt disrespected. They felt wronged that he wouldn't stay and finish it out. And I think that's why a lot of them said, and this was perfect because Pete Golding stepped in and they immediately got behind him. I mean, everybody was like, let's roll. And they won, didn't they win 2 playoff games? They won the first one and They won the
won
semifinal.
one, right? Did they win two?
No, they lost to Miami in the semifinal.
They lost to yeah.
So they won two, right? Yeah. And it's because they got behind Pete, and I think that's what he is. I think he's a winner. He's going to show why it wasn't just Lane that made Ole Miss good. They had talent, but I think they had other good coaches, and I think Pete Golding has put together a good staff. So I got Ole Miss at 4 at 9-3. Could easily be 10-2. Could easily be 8-4. I don't know, but they have the best quarterback and running back tandem in college football. To me,
I struggled with third and fourth. Okay,
no,
I struggled with third and fourth in the SEC. So yeah, like I said, they got a better head coach.
But yeah, now we get to our top three, and like I said, I could go more about Ole Miss and Tennessee, but schedule, talent retention, coaches they have, I like it. I like them 5-4. Let's move on. Let's go to 3, 2, and 1. I think we all should give our 3, then to 2, and our 1, and then we should state why.
Okay.
So I'm going to start off with my third team. I have Georgia third at 11-1. Now, this is crazy because they're 11-1. They've only lost one game. Why do they finish third? Well, because I have them losing to Texas in the head-to-head, and I think that's what gets them in. And it's crazy, but I also have A&M getting in above them because A&M's only loss to me is going to come to Texas. So I have Texas and A&M.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
So I'm going to have A&M and Texas in a rematch 2 weeks after they just played each other in the SEC championship. But anyways, I have Georgia third, 11-1. I think they lose to Texas. That's what I have. Look, Gunnar Stockton's a good quarterback. I think he's nothing more than a middle of the road quarterback though. I don't believe in him. I don't think he's a Stetson Bennett. Georgia's offense has had issues the last couple of years. It has. Their defense has had to kind of carry them. And I think that the way the offenses are in the SEC now, I think it's going to be hard for Georgia to win. You know, the SEC with teams like Texas A&M and Texas that have just dynamic offenses that can score at will. And I think that head-to-head, both of them would beat them. But I think Texas does beat them. I have Georgia 11-1 in third, which is crazy. That's what I got. Look, Kirby's great. Defense is going to be good. I think the offense is going to not be as good. They have a great running back in Nate Frazier, but I just don't believe in Gunnar Stockton. I don't. Not for a prolonged period and not against what they're about to face. And I know they've gotten the best of Texas lately, but I don't think that happens anymore. So I have Georgia at 3.
Who's making the noise? Who's got the me? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, that's it. Georgia 3, 11-1.
Okay, that's weird to be 11-1 in third. So my 3 is A&M, and I have A&M 7-2 in the conference. So if you look at my A&M, so they play at LSU, at Oklahoma, and they play Texas. They don't have to play Georgia. That's a big help. But still, that's a couple of tough games there. And so I'm saying they win one out of those. I think LSU is going to beat A&M. I think LSU is still going to finish behind them, but I think LSU is going to beat A&M. And then I think they lose to Texas. So I think they are 7-2, and I think they finish third. That's my third. Good team. Mike Elko is a great coach. You know, they got a lot of players. So I don't know. We'll see. Honestly, I feel like it's possible they could be second. It's also possible that they could end up 6th or 7th, but I'm going to go with probability, and I'm going to put them third. You're 3?
Yeah, I also have Texas A&M at 3. I have them at 11-1 on the year, 8-1 in the conference. Their one loss being to Texas. I'd say this is my biggest surprise team this year, just because of how their schedule looks and how it is. I think their only loss all year will be to Texas until you get to bowl, playoff, whatever.
It's at Texas.
That's exactly
no. It's home. It's home. No, it's home. It's home.
Oh, it is.
It doesn't matter. Okay. It doesn't matter.
Either Same way, state, yeah. I think Texas is the better team. Overall, Texas is the better team, in my opinion. It's funny to see, Texas A&M and Texas, rival schools, both top of the conference. You don't see that too much. Michigan, Ohio State's probably one of the bigger rivalries I've seen where, two schools have been up in the top of the conference. So I think that makes this year very interesting. But I see that, they finally look disciplined. I think this is their true breakout season. I know last year they made so many strides and we're like, oh my gosh, Texas A&M is coming up. And this year, the off season, it all looks good for them. How their schedule lined up.
There was some questionable coaching decisions in that game where Miami beat them. They legitimately had, and Miami just skated through a win over Texas A&M. They beat Ohio State pretty good. By the way, Drew, Ole Miss they beat Tulane, they thumped them, and they beat Georgia before they lost 4 points to Miami, and they were so close to getting to that national championship. Now, they would have lost. Nobody was beating Indiana, but I think Ole Miss Oregon would have been a very interesting game. I think Ole Miss probably wins that game at the end of the year, so that means they would have finished third last year. So yeah. So and then I got you, Ace.
All right. So we're gonna go to 2. I'll give y'all my 2. I got Texas at 10-2. Now, how's Georgia 11-1 and Texas 10-2, and Texas gets the nod? It's because Texas
Conference
loses
record.
to Ohio State, but they beat Georgia head to head, and they both are 8-1 in the conference. Texas.
So
gets
who
the
is
nod.
their conference loss?
I have Texas A&M beating them.
Okay.
And here's but
that's going to be a fun game.
Wait,
listen.
So you have A&M beating Texas?
Yes.
That makes
get one, and I'll reveal why they're number 1 over Texas. But Texas is 10-2. They lose to Ohio State, but that's early in the season. They beat Georgia, but then they lose to A&M. So they're 8-1 in the conference, same record as Georgia. They get the tiebreaker.
This is feeling a lot like our Big Ten last week, where we all have the same top 3, just a little bit different on the order.
Now, so Texas is 2, and let me tell you why. Arch Manning's the hype. Cool. I think Cam Coleman and Ryan Wingo are 2 of the best receivers in the country, and I think they're just as good as Ohio State's receiving core. Just as good. Defense is going to be a core strength, and this is why. Sucky head coach. Just really stuck it to South Carolina, but Will Muschamp is their defensive coordinator, and that dude is a hell of a defensive coordinator, and with that talent they have, and that roster they have, man.
Yeah, they're loaded.
Also, this is the year Sarkisian is able to get past Georgia and get over that hump of the slump against Georgia. That's why they're 2.
Okay. My 2 is also Texas. And so, I have Texas. Let's see. So Texas, they have Ohio State. Of course, that's their out of conference. They have a tough out of conference game. I think I looked and there's only 7 teams in the SEC that have an out of conference game that is possible to lose. And it's because it's against Big Ten or ACC teams. So, but South Carolina being one of them. But yeah, they play Ohio State. That's at home. I don't know, man. They could go either way. That defense last year really put the screws to Ayers in that offense. I don't know if they can do it as much this year. Instead of 14 points, I'm thinking Ohio State scores 20-24. The question is, can Arch Manning put up 3 touchdowns? Can that offense, if they can put up 3 touchdowns, they can win that game. Otherwise, they're going to lose. Okay, Texas and Oklahoma. That's going to be an interesting game. I got Texas winning that, but that's going to be interesting. I think that Ole Miss. I think they're going to beat Texas. So I think Texas loses to Ole Miss, and I think they lose to A&M. So I have them 7-2 in the conference, 9-3 or 10-2. They're going to get in the playoff, but I have them second. And just like you said, Drew, the reason that I have them where they are is because that defense is loaded. And yes, Muschamp is a terrible head coach. It's too much thinking for him to make all those decisions, but he's a great defensive coordinator. Okay. A guy with 105 to 110 IQ. All right. But a great defensive coach. So, and Sarkisian is the real deal. He's been disappointing lately.
Yeah.
With his offensive play calling and his schemes. They haven't. I just feel a little disappointed, but we'll see.
Go ahead, Ace. Did you give your 2 yet?
No. So I'm at 2. I got Georgia, and I got Georgia going 12-0. I got Georgia going undefeated in the regular season, and I got them obviously 9-0 in the conference. So why are they at number 2? Well, obviously, my number 1's pretty obvious. We'll save it there.
Mm-hmm.
How the hell is?
And with how it went, this is just what I think. Every year, Georgia loses NFL talent in the regular season.
Georgia and Texas play each other.
No, they don't.
No, they don't.
No, they don't, Drew.
Yeah, they do.
No, they don't. Look, I'm looking at the schedule
season.
right now. Tennessee State, Western Kentucky. This is Georgia's. Arkansas, Oklahoma, Vandy, Alabama, Auburn.
You're right.
Florida, Ole Miss, Missouri, South Carolina,
I'm looking
Georgia.
at Tennessee. I'm looking at Tennessee.
Yeah, they don't play each other.
So I have Georgia going undefeated in this conference. What Kirby Smart has done isn't what Nick Saban has done, but man, he has just kept Georgia so consistent for so long. And the fact that this team is still so dominant, even though we're in the NIL era now, to where and I know it's Georgia, they can fess up the money, but still,
isn't he the only SEC coach with a championship, with the national championship right now?
Yes, he is. He's the only one.
So
he's the only SEC head coach with a national championship under his belt, and I think that matters a lot. I mean, look at his coaching staff, one of the best. This defense is elite. This offense will be great. They got the NIL opportunity. They got the money. However, I have them losing in the conference championship, and that is why I have them at my number 2. So
I misspoke. I thought that they had played each other by when I was picking the games, but I realized that it was wrong. I had Georgia losing to Ole Miss. That's who I had on my schedule because they played at Ole Miss. That's why I had Georgia at 11-1, 8-1 in the conference. I had them losing at Ole Miss. My bad. And I had Texas at 10-2, losing to A&M and Ohio State, 8-1 in the conference as well, ahead of them. And
So
then
your
my number one
is
Texas A&M, and I have them going 12-0.
Okay.
I have
That's
A&M unbeaten. I have him 12-0. I think Marcel Reed I think he's better than Arch. I think he's the second best quarterback behind Chambliss. I think he's one of the most poised quarterbacks that can extend plays. I think their running back room is good, and they're going to have a strong O-line. And I think their wide receivers are the most underrated. Mario Craver, Ashton Bethel-Roman, Isaiah Horton, and TK Norman are 4 of the best receivers in the SEC, and they're loaded. I mean, they're loaded and their defense is also loaded with veterans. They've got one of the best front end defenses, one of the most experienced, polished front end defenses. They've got big dudes. I think up the interior, I don't think they're going to allow much run play, like big run plays. It's going to be hard to run up the middle on them. You're going to have to go to the outside, and then they have playmakers for that. I think their secondary is good. I think Mike Elko is one of the most underrated coaches in college football because I think he's a top 3 coach in the SEC. I really do. They have to be able to win. The problem with A&M is they always lose. They can't win the big game, right? They have trouble where they play that big game and they can't win it, like against Texas or against Georgia, against LSU. I think this is the year they get over that hump. I think Texas A&M is the this is going to be hard, but I think Texas A&M on paper and everything I've looked at, I think they're the most complete team, even more than Texas, which is crazy to say. So I have Texas A&M 12-0. I have them number 1, but I do have them. I mean, I haven't picked the SEC championship, but obviously it would be them and Texas in the championship, and I would say I would take Texas in the SEC championship. But they both get in the playoff along with Georgia, and that's where I go with. So
yeah,
so
no,
I'll
say
got a different one.
If I have to pick it, I think Texas wins the SEC championship. I think Texas A&M finishes the regular season undefeated and gets the number 1. That's why.
I don't think that. I mean, playing that close to each other back to back, I think probably the team that lost probably has a better chance. But look, A&M. Drew, you're right. So they play at LSU, at Oklahoma. Okay, they're better than those two teams. I have them splitting that, and then I have them losing to Texas. But they do have Texas at home. The worst case scenario is 9-3. However, Marcel Reed will be his second full year. He's got an entire year of starter. Do you know what Marcel Reed's first start was?
It was against us.
It was against South Carolina. Weigman was benched, and 44-20. Texas A&M did not win that game in 2024, and we pretty much put it to Marcel Reed. Forcing turnovers.
We had an NFL. Well, there's a couple things that happened in that game that helped us win. One, we had an NFL defense.
Yeah, that was a legit.
Number
defense.
two, it's his first start. Number 2, it was his first start. And number 3, Le'Veon Moss went down. Le'Veon Moss, their best running back, went down in the second quarter. That changed their whole offense.
Yeah, but also it was his first start at Williams-Brice on a Saturday night, and the place was electric. So also, Lenore Sellers was an absolute beast, and then what was our running back?
It was Rocket.
Yeah, it was Rocket. Yeah. And he had a big game. I mean, we threw the ball a little bit, and Sellers was able to but we ran all over him. But ever since that game, okay, the dude looked great, except last year against Miami. They scored 3 freaking points in that playoff game. Elko made some coaching missteps in that game too, okay? Marcel Reed made some huge mental errors in that game. He had a walk-in touchdown to tie that thing, okay? Instead, he forced something. So I'm not 100% ready to buy and believe in yet, so that's why I have that. So you have Texas A&M as your number 1. I have Georgia as my number 1, also undefeated. Georgia gets a little lucky. Georgia has Oklahoma and at Ole Miss. That's it. There is no way. Well, there's no way they lose any other game. There's just no way. I mean, there's nobody else is beating them on that schedule. All right. I'll go to the schedule real quick.
I mean, they play at Alabama.
So Tennessee State, okay, the win by 60. Western Kentucky win by 60. Arkansas win by 60. Oklahoma at home, okay. I don't know. Mateer's a good player or whatever, but he's going to get pinballed in that game. Okay, so at Alabama now. So you mentioned that game like, oh, that's something to worry about or whatever. Okay, do you think that on a field, okay, playing football, Alabama matches up with Georgia right now? They don't. It's not even close.
I don't think they matched up with them the last 2 years and they beat them.
This game is going to be 44-10. Okay.
I don't think Alabama has matched up with Georgia the last 2 years and they've beat them.
All right. Yeah, but they're getting horsewhipped this year.
That's what I'm saying. It's just one of those games. Alabama always, for some reason, shows up against Georgia. I don't know why.
Kirby's ready. Auburn. That's
the only team he has a losing record against.
Easy win. And then the Ole Miss. At Ole Miss. That's the only game that I'm really. I mean, they could slip up and lose to Oklahoma. Oklahoma has talent, so I still pick them to win it. And then after that, after Ole Miss, they've got Missouri, South Carolina, and Georgia Tech. All right, so that's 3 week offs for them, for the talent gap between those teams. Although South Carolina is not quite as far, but that coaching staff has people prepared. Kirby, look at what they did against Tennessee last year. They came out and they were just so terrible early on. All kind of breaks going against them. That quarterback for Tennessee. And then what happened? Flipped it. They just flipped it and they just came ripping back. Kirby's smart team is a tough team and they're well coached. So that's what I have. I have Georgia 1, then I got Texas and Texas A&M 3. So we all got a different number 1. Ace, go ahead and obviously you have Texas as number 1.
I got Texas as number 1. I think they have the most complete roster in the SEC. I'm not going to say football, but I will say in the SEC. Now, I have them going 9-0 in the conference, 11-1 in the regular season. I have them losing to Ohio State. Now, they play Ohio State second, but they do play them in Austin at home, their home stadium. I think that matters.
It's a toss-up.
Every college football game that's between two big teams, the home field advantage plays something into it. It just does. Okay, there's something about playing home versus playing away that is completely different. I think it is possible for Texas to pull out that win. However, I do give the edge to Ohio State. That's why I will say Texas is 11-1. I have them finishing over Georgia in this conference. I have them winning the conference and being the number 1 seed going into the playoffs. So for me, looking through it, Arch Manning, yeah, cool. He's not like the other Mannings. Okay. He's not like Eli. He's not like Peyton. All right. My thing is, I'm not expecting him to be like that. He's already came out and he performed last year. He did. Okay.
I think he's more athletic.
Pretty decent stats. Yeah. I when it comes down to being a football player, I don't think he will ever reach Peyton or Eli. I don't think.
No, I agree.
But I think in college football this year, modern day era of play, that defense he has, his offensive weapons, and if he can remain consistent the whole year, I think he shows up, he beats Ohio State. All right, very possible. I don't think he can do it, but I say it's possible. They beat A&M to end off the season. They go in, they win the conference, they go in, and they make a deep run in the playoffs. I do think that's
so. Yeah, so
possible.
You have Texas.
And I do love Sarkisian as a head coach. I mean, overall, he's built this Texas program into a national championship caliber program. If anybody's making their college football, playoff predictions right now, it's hard to not have Texas in that. That's my thing. As either the 1 or 2 coming from the SEC. So, and I do think the SEC could possibly bring 3 playoff contenders. That being Texas, Georgia, and A&M this year.
Okay, that's what I wanted to talk about.
I'm looking at it.
So, with the Big 12,
Colin Simmons, I love that dude. That dude is going to be one hell of a that guy's going to go first round NFL.
Listen, the only guy in his category is Dylan Stewart. Those 2 are the best defensive players in the SEC. Those 2 are the 2 best edge rushers probably in the country. Okay, I don't know who to give the edge to, but I kind of think Stewart. I think Stewart has a little more upside, a little more athleticism.
Yeah, so, I think he does.
All right, so in the Big 10, we had them different, but we all had the same top 3. We all had Ohio State, Indiana, and Oregon. Okay, and we all agreed that all 3 of those teams would make the playoffs. Okay.
Yep.
Now, I am willing to say Georgia, Texas A&M, all 3 make the playoffs. In fact, I'll go one more. I say Mississippi also makes the playoffs. The SEC gets 4 teams. Think about this, okay? You've got 12 teams, right? The most the ACC is getting in is 2. The most, okay? The most that you're going to get from the Big 12 is 2. Probably 1, maybe 2, okay? So that's 4. Then you have the group of 5, highest ranked. That's 5. So now you have 7. Okay.
This is where.
So that means if you have 7 left, then the SEC gets in 3, the Big Ten gets 4, or the Big Ten gets 4, SEC gets 3, or whatever. One of them gets 4, one of them gets 3. I say that the best number 4, Mississippi, is the best number. If you line the conferences up, okay, and you go 1 through 3, 4, whoever you put 4th, Mississippi State will curb stomp the 4 from any other conference. And it won't even be a battle. Also, there's no 5 that's beating Oklahoma.
Here's something to think about.
Because I had 4. I had USC 4 in the Big Ten. Okay, there's no other 4 close. Ole Miss is 2 touchdowns better than Southern Cal. So, and that's the other thing. I think it comes down to maybe Ole Miss and Southern Cal and their resumes. And so, but the SEC gets 3, maybe 4. If they don't, then 4 goes to, and it may be 4 each. Okay. That's what I think will happen. Actually, I'm sorry, Drew, is I think 4 from the Big Ten, 4 from the SEC, 2 from the Big 12, 1 from the ACC, and then your highest ranked group of 5.
Well, here's the thing. So I don't know if you know, but the playoff format this year is no longer the top 4 conference winners are getting the top 4 seed. It's just the 4 overall.
Right.
It's top 4 overall. It doesn't matter about conference. So let's think about this real quick. All right. Okay. Let's just use mine as an example, right? All right. I had Indiana winning. I have Indiana going undefeated, right? 12-0. Yep. I have A&M going 12-0. I have Texas going 10-2, but going to their conference championship. Georgia 11-1. You have Ohio State 11-1, 10-2-ish. You got Oregon 11-1. Okay, let's say A&M. Let's say Texas beats Texas A&M, which is what I think will happen. All right, Texas is now 11-2, but they're the SEC champion. A&M's 12-1, SEC runner-up. Let's say Ohio State.
Let's see where you're going.
Or Oregon beats Indiana in the Big Ten championship. Indiana's 12-1, right? Ohio State's 11-2 or whatever. Like with all these teams around 11-1, 12-1, 11-2, but you have the 11-2 competition. How do you organize the top 4? Who do you give it to?
It's going to be it's going to be another thing to where the committee is going to have a representative on ESPN and other shows during the week, but they're going to be on ESPN and they're going to be like, why did you have Ohio State number 1 and you didn't have Texas number 1, or you didn't have A&M number 1, or you didn't have Indiana or whatever? Okay. But this is what I'm saying. That's a good thing that you brought up, that the conference winners don't get 1 through 4. So I think that Georgia, Texas A&M, Indiana, Ohio State, and Oregon, I think that is 1 through 8, and the only possibility Miami and Texas Tech could get in there.
Right.
Okay.
But all I'm saying is, right, Miami. Cool.
So you're going to have, and you could possibly have like 5 out of the top 6 or 6 out of the top 7 coming from 2 conferences. And in fact, I think that's what'll happen.
Yeah. But my thing is, okay, A&M 12-1, Indiana 12-1, Ohio State and Texas are 11-2, but they're their conference champions. Do they get the nod as the higher seeds over Indiana and A&M because they beat them 1 game? Because they won do you automatically give them the conference championship?
The directive last year was conference champions get more consideration. So and in this case, if you had, let's just say with the SEC, let's say that Texas. We'll go with yours. Texas A&M's number 1. They're undefeated. Let's say Georgia finishes 2, and then Georgia's 10-2, and then Georgia beats Texas A&M in the SEC championship. So then, should Georgia, at 11-2, be ahead of A&M at 12-1? I say yes, because they won the conference. They only played 1 time. Okay, so I mean that's my thought. Even though ultimately Texas A&M would have had a harder schedule than Georgia.
Let me give my prediction. Okay, this is how this is going to work out. Okay, because the College Football Playoff Committee and the way the conference is structured and the way the NCAA has allowed the game to be nowadays, what you're going to have is you're going to have 4 from the SEC and 4 from the Big Ten that all have a clear-cut case to be the top 8 teams. And what's going to happen is that committee is going to bump some of them back for a G5 or something. The Big Ten and SEC are going to – it could happen. Or they bump them back for Miami. Right. Let's say Miami has a loss, but they're the AC champion, 1 loss to the champion. They bump Miami in there. Or they bump BYU in there. Let's just say it happens, which it could possibly happen. They could be like, well, BYU should be 6 over Georgia at 6 at 11-1, even though, this is what they're going to do. And what's going to happen is the Big Ten and the SEC are going to get pissed. And what they've already been talking about, screw everybody else. Okay. we're going to make our own playoff between the two conferences because we're tired of being looked at in the same light as the ACC or the Group of Five. Dude, why are they talking about it then? Why are the SEC and Big Ten already meeting to talk about their own tournament, their own championship?
Okay, they're talking about it because they can't just do it. There are repercussions, okay? There's going to be antitrust suits. There's going to be harmful dude, lawyers are going to make a lot of money off of that. Okay. I just don't see them I do see what you're saying, that them saying, okay, so we have our 6 teams, Georgia, Texas, Texas A&M, Indiana, Ohio State, Oregon, those 6 teams should be seeded. All should be somewhere between 1 and 8, because if you have an undefeated Miami or a 1-loss Miami conference champ, or an undefeated or a 1-loss Texas Tech conference champ, they could bump, some especially some third place teams from that conference. I get that. But what you're saying is, if all of a sudden somebody, let's say Clemson, okay? Let's say Clemson weasels their way into 10-2, okay? Mm-hmm. And then they go and they lose the ACC championship to Miami, and everybody's like, hey, look, it will be weasel their way, man. They only have like 2 games that are even competitive.
Hey, you're talking about you're talking to Ace, the biggest Clemson apologist in the world.
That's right. Hey, Christopher Wilson.
Hey, no, man. Dude, I dogged on Clemson earlier, man.
So, but what
I give credit where credit's due, man.
So then this is what'll happen. And this is what some people will say, okay? I know a radio personality in the upstate that I used to listen to that I don't listen to anymore. And he will come on there and he will say, well, it's okay that Clemson is 6 and that Texas A&M and Oregon are like 7-10 or 8-10, because they already got 2 teams in the top 5 each. So yeah, that's okay. Knowing good and well, if Clemson took on any of those schedule, let's just say Georgia, who has maybe the easiest schedule out of the contenders. Okay. All right, Clemson plays that. Oklahoma, loss. Alabama, that's a loss. Ole Miss, that's a loss. And then the South Carolina is a toss-up. So, all right, that's 4 losses. Okay, I mean, it's just wrong. But you're right. It'll happen, and there'll be talks. I'm just saying, I don't think they can do it. I just think that the repercussions are just going to be too great. Okay, the NCAA is going to apply all the force that they can.
The problem is the NCAA is losing power by the day. They can't even enforce their own rules. Sorsby was going to be able to play before he wanted to go to the NFL, and now they denied that. And so now he's going to play. Like, the NCAA can't enforce rules. They can't anymore. They don't have the power. The power lies in the conferences now. Why do you think all these changes are happening?
But Drew, the conference, okay, the Big 12 also did not want him to play, and he's not going to play now, okay, because he dropped the lawsuit, the whatever, and that's because the judge that basically said you can't do anything to him, you can't file anything. I'm the authority on everything. He kind of got spanked, okay, by the higher court and by common sense and again, good lawyering. So I don't know, man. If that happens, I wouldn't like it. All right. I don't like a 12-team playoff. I'm okay with a 14 playoff. I like it the way it was back in the day. The mythical national champion. Okay?
I was okay with 8. That would have been cool if we'd have just done 8. Like
I didn't like the BCS.
I didn't either.
So from my perspective, I think we've just gone way down. I think all this stuff adds up to.
The problem with the BCS is the Sagarin ratings left out a lot of key important things. It did.
Yeah, Sagarin was a joke. And I'll tell you something else, too. Here's the problem with all this. College football still is a great product. I just want to go through. Ace, go ahead. Give your reaction, Ace.
I just got that.
What we were saying about the conferences, the Big Ten and the SEC trying to be their own.
They feel like they get cheated. They're gonna band together.
Yeah, I can see it. Don't get me wrong. I can definitely see it. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, it's there's many legal things that probably got to bend to do that, and it does suck that college football doesn't want to take, if the top 8 teams are from the Big Ten and SEC, and only 4 to 6 of those get taken and 2 get left out, while lesser teams get to play because they just so happen to win their conference, a crappy conference. I get it. It is tough to really decide that because it goes who deserves it more. So I mean, I would like to see, a Big Ten and SEC championship. I mean, I think that'd be very entertaining, and it would be interesting because that would have completely messed up college football altogether. That's the thing. That would take every national championship, and if that happens, every national, it's what will that be considered? So I don't know. I mean, that's beyond my knowledge of what could happen. I haven't looked into it enough, so I don't want to make assumptions or talk from a place of ignorance about it.
The next week's episode is gonna be a little tough. It's gonna be tough giving your college football playoff predictions because you're gonna have to go 1 through 12, and you have to line.
All right. So think about this. All right. The first week, this is why it is such a great product. Okay. Clemson LSU, very, very good game. Okay. That's going to be an interesting game. LSU is going to pull away and win late, but that's going to be interesting. All right. Louisville and Ole Miss. All right. They're playing on that Sunday. Good game. All right. SMU, Florida State. It's a decent game. I mean, that's SMU probably wins. But I mean, if you just go and you go through the schedule, I mean, the next week, you've got Oklahoma, Michigan. You've got Texas, Ohio State. I mean, the product is good. The playoff games were very interesting. The issue is that, management, and leadership, especially from the NCAA, is just a joke.
Let's do this. Let's go and let's each. If y'all have to look at it, I'll go first so y'all can look. But let's give our top 3 to close this out before we do get it. The top 3 SEC internal games this year. Internal, which means not an SEC team out of conference, but internally, your top 3 SEC games. I say let's go through it.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to go first. I'm going to give you my number. We're going to start at number 1 and work to number 3. Why not? My number 1 biggest SEC game, and we'll count this as must watch. This is must watch games, right? This is the 3 must watch. Like your TV needs to be on this game when it's on. Number 1, LSU at Ole Miss in week 3.
Yep.
I think that's number 1 because Lane Kiffin versus this whole team. All right, Pete Golding and Lane Kiffin have not been pleasant with each other in the offseason. They've been jawing at each other.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
The rosters are. This is going to be one of them games where both rosters there might be some chippiness, a lot of chippiness in this game. I mean, it's probably going to be. I got number 1, LSU and Mississippi. That's my number 1.
All right, I'll say that's number 3. But
okay, that's my number 1. All right.
I'm with that.
Number two is Texas at Texas A&M.
Yeah, I was about to say that was going to be my number 1.
This is a must.
That's my number 1.
Texas and Texas A&M. Okay,
I
think that's going to be an absolute, just an insane game. And number 3, there's a couple honorable mentions I could put in, but number 3. And it's only because this is just, to me, is big implications for the rest of the year. I'll give 2 in my number 3, and they're tied. Georgia at Ole Miss.
Yep, that's it. That's what I'm saying. That's my number 2.
My tie with that, or at least honorable mention 4th, right behind it, is Texas at LSU.
Okay, so my number 1. Okay, is Texas A&M Texas. All right, it's because that's my 2 and 3 teams. Yeah, it's my 2 and 3 teams. That's going to have big implications on the standings. The next one, Georgia and Ole Miss. That's my number 1 and my number 4. Okay, so to me that's huge. And then the only reason I say LSU Ole Miss instead of the Texas and LSU is because LSU and Ole Miss is because of the coaching thing and what you said. Okay, this is a game that you absolutely have to watch. So yeah, and I mean, honestly, there's a lot of other ones, but those are my top 3. So I'll roll with those.
You got Ace.
Yeah, no, I guess I'm gonna go with the Ole Miss and LSU as my. I think that just
as your 3 or number 1.
No, I take that if we're gonna go in order of the season, but overall, that's probably my 2. I do think Texas A&M is number 1. I think that'll be the most electric game in the SEC. It's hard to say otherwise. And then for me, I'm going to take it a little different. I am going to go Georgia and Alabama because, like you said, Alabama always puts out. So it's
that's always an insane game. It just always is.
Yeah, I know. To me, and see, like. As South Carolina fans, we could be South Carolina Clemson. But honestly, if we're going to go off viewership, like who should watch these games? Yeah, I think every game we just listed is very.
That's must watch football. There's a lot of must watch games.
You got to in the SEC. You have to.
Yeah. All right. Well, we kind of are in agreement on some similarities. Like I said, it seems like we always have the same top three, just in different orders.
Right.
And pretty much
Well,
everything so far.
you know, and it's just like with the Big Ten. Okay, it could finish. I think out of those three, any one of those teams could finish 1, 2, or 3. Okay. The only difference to the Big Ten for me with the SEC is that I actually think LSU could crack into the top 3. I just don't think that Southern Cal or Michigan can get in the top 3. But and Oklahoma, they could catch a couple breaks, and it's possible they could get in there. So again, the SEC is just deeper. It's always deeper, you know, and so from my perspective, and I do really think that Ole Miss is right there. All right, I think Ole Miss is sitting there at 7-2 and 10-2, and I think it's like, hey, look, 2-loss teams got to get in. You know, why not Ole Miss? Because a 2-loss Ole Miss team, okay, gets in above a 1-loss Big 12 or ACC team. I'm sorry. Yep. In fact, I don't think they'll have 2 losses, but if you have a 10-2 Southern Cal, they get in before a 1-loss SEC or Big 12 team. So, and then of course you got to have one of those group of 5s in. So I'm saying the SEC and the Big 10 both get 4. Okay. And I'm saying that the ACC gets 1, the Big 12 gets 2, because you know, I just see BYU. I see BYU and Texas Tech getting in there, and then you get the one group of 5 team or whatever. So group of 4, whatever they are, non-power 4, and so that's your 12.
All right. Well, I mean we went a while. This is a little bit longer, not as long as you probably thought, but we've wrapped up the SEC. We all know where we stand. We gave our predictions. We gave our must-watch games. We even hit on some of the playoff and, you know, the implications of college football nowadays and what could happen going forward. Obviously, everything's up in the air, and I think we all agree that, you know, some of our top teams could easily be in different orders, but it's the fact that I think we're all consistent in the same teams that we have getting into the playoff. So the playoff show should be very similar. Again, we might be in different areas, but we'll figure that out when we get there, I guess. So
preview for next week, Drew.
Yeah, college football playoff predictions. That's going to be it. We was going to do a group of 6 or group of 5 conference breakdown. I think we should maybe work that in at some point afterwards, but I think we should go ahead and get the college football playoff landscape down, and we're going to deep dive into Clemson and South Carolina.
Okay.
And we're going to go through there because those are our teams, at least locally from where we're from and what most of our family and people
we will cover the non-power 5.
We'll get to it next after that.
So, and then there's another factor in there, which is Notre Dame.
Yeah, and that's the independents. So
yeah.
But that's pretty much it. So that's going to do it for episode 11. I got to take a Mondo Duke, and I have to eat because I'm hungry.
Everybody have a great week. Take care of yourself. Appreciate the people around you. Love you guys.
Okay. Nothing again. Silence. He's got to be all weird all the time. But
Chris
anyway,
Wilson takes the 5th.
I know. So, all right. I appreciate y'all. That's episode 11.
Love
See
you,
next
kid.
time.
Love you, Ace.